All right, hello and welcome back, everybody. It's another edition of the Moofcast. It's me, Andrew, aka Uno, here with your old pal Nick Bean. How's it going, Nick?
Oh, it's going all right. Pretty excited about the gaming landscape so far this year, and excited to be talking about it.
Yeah, right there with you, man. I know last time when we came back, we were pretty high on the Switch. I thought
Yeah,
maybe we maybe we could talk this episode a little bit more about how we feel about the state of the system a month going in, as well as I know
has
you
it been a
said
month?
it's been a month now. Yeah, well, okay, it's March 31st, so a full calendar month is like 3 days out. But
Oh man.
call it a month. I know you also wanted to talk about Mass Effect Andromeda on the show today, as well as what else? There was one other thing that you had, and I already forgot it.
Persona 5.
Persona 5, of course. Yeah, we'll get to that. I've got a couple of things to throw out as
The
well.
Persona 5 conversation for me though is more about something else, but we'll find out when we get there.
Okay,
You'll find out when we get there.
I'll find
This
out.
is special for you.
Okay. All right. So can we begin with talking about the Switch?
Of course.
Cool. Let's do it. So I think last time we definitely talked about the hardware. We talked about Zelda. That was the only game I had. It's still the only game that I have. I know you've bought some things since then, right?
I have. No, I have Fast RMX, which is actually the first game that I played on the Switch.
Okay.
And I bought World of Goo, which is the
Okay.
same World of Goo that World of Goo has always been and is still fun. That's about it. That's what I got.
Okay.
I also played the Splatoon 2 beta. They call it the Global Test Fire, but it's
Oh
basically
yeah,
a
yeah.
beta.
Yeah, how did that go for you?
Uh, it's funny because I thought the same thing on the Wii U, but it's always really striking to me how thick and like painty the paint looks when you're spraying it around all over the place.
Sure.
I think playing Splatoon handheld is completely worthless for me. The way that the sticks sit when I've got to hold that thing, look at the screen.
Sure.
It just I don't know how I feel about that game as a first-person shooter. It's really hard to hit any of the buttons for me. If if it were nothing but shoulders and sticks, I'd be okay. But having to press the buttons for some of the stuff, like it automatically takes some ability away from me, like the ability to jump or the ability or if it were a different game, it could be something else like fucking switching your gun. Like, yeah, I mean, it'd just be just a
Sure.
pain in the ass to hit
Sure.
those buttons for me. And but playing it with the Pro controller, playing it on my TV, I really liked it. Had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that kind of strikes me as the type of game that you'd want to play on your TV anyway. Just because it's an online competitive multiplayer game. That doesn't seem to me like the kind of thing that would be very friendly for playing at work on your lunch break or something like that, or like on a bus. You know what I mean?
Sure, but like, let's say you're going on vacation, right? Or you're taking a trip down to your in-laws' place. That's something I know you do.
Oh, yep, definitely.
And you're going to take your Switch, but you might not want to take the dock.
Sure.
I mean, you got to unplug all the cables, you got to do all that stuff. But I mean, I'm sure the in-laws have Wi-Fi, right? So
Yep.
you can still
Yeah,
connect to the internet.
absolutely.
You can still play online if you want. And let's say you want to play Mario Kart. I'm gonna have to see how it feels to play Mario Kart on my Switch before
Sure.
I can commit, to playing online on Mario Kart. Now, I think Mario Kart will be fine, as long as they've incorporated the shoulders, like I said, to do everything. But man, just the way that sits on the Joy-Con, the buttons and the thing, it bugs me. I don't like it.
Sure. Yeah,
Now, with a slow-paced game, like a slow-paced RPG or something like that, it'd be fine. I wouldn't care. But things where I got to think fast or move my hands fast, it just feels really unnatural.
Sure. No, I totally get it. I mean, I've even run into times where it's just kind of wonky playing even Zelda. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, when you want to take a running jump, you know you have to hold down the B button to run, and then it's X, I think, to jump. And they're positioned on top of each other. So what I end up doing is putting my thumb on the B button and then curling it up and over the top of the controller instead of underneath it like usual, and doing a kind of like pinching claw thing so that I can hit that X button and do the jump. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah,
I do.
it's a little weird, and
So
I know some people like that's a turnoff for some people. I'm a little more tolerant of that kind of thing just because I've been doing that same kind of shit with the Vita for years now. You know, every time I go to the
Dude,
in-laws, like
I
you
know
mentioned.
what you're saying, but it doesn't feel the same on the Vita for me. Like, for the most part, first-person shooters have always been useless to me on handhelds. I just
Sure.
think it's stupid. You know, the joysticks aren't right. They're too small. Um, Although Unit 13, which was a Vita game that came out pretty early in the process, if it wasn't a launch game,
Yep.
it was good. Just flat out good. Controlled well, felt like a SOCOM game, ish. And, you know, not quite as tight as SOCOM, but like I said, you know, you got these nubs. It's a little bit different.
Right.
But it felt good. Getting to the buttons to change your weapons, to do any of that stuff, to reload, didn't really feel like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't feel that way with the Switch. Now, Zelda, you bringing that up, it's funny because I found myself at times playing Zelda docked purely because it made my hand uncomfortable when I was playing it on I don't know, what do you call it when it's not docked? Handheld.
Just call it handheld mode.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. So playing it handheld, my hands would get uncomfortable. But then at the same time, I would find myself playing it handheld just because I was so amazed that I could play it handheld.
Sure.
Like, is that? I mean, I don't know if that makes sense.
No. I'm with you there.
But it was just like, man, like, because there's stuff that looks good on the Vita, and I know you're a huge supporter of the Vita. I mean, I am also a huge supporter of the Vita financially. So, I mean,
Sure.
But there isn't anything on the Vita that looks anywhere in the same universe as Zelda looks. And
Come on, homie. Killzone and Wipeout still look pretty fucking unreal.
Dude. Nah, dude. Nah. You're no. That like it's silly. And I know that you feel differently about it and you're just wrong. Like, you're just wrong.
All right. I guess that's a firm agree to disagree there.
Right. Like, I mean, like, yeah, Wipeout looks good. Wipeout doesn't look like Zelda. Like, there are no effects in Wipeout like there are in Zelda. I mean, it is it's so like totally watered down compared to what is happening in that.
Oh man, so, I think you're crazy, but okay.
That's
okay. Don't focus on what I just said. It's fine. Let's.
Like
I had to say it, but I don't want you to sit and argue with me.
Wrong.
Okay.
Like I said, you're wrong. It's okay for you to be wrong.
That's fine. I'll accept that. Sure.
But that in itself just made me want to play it. And not only that, but you know, like Wipeout, and I love Wipeout, and Fast RMX. Like if it's anything, it's not Wipeout.
Sure.
And like every time I play it, I think about the fact that there is a better game like it that I own on my Vita.
Sure.
So I never want to play it. So it was like a complete waste of the $20. Because I'll play a race or I'll play 2 races, and all I can think to myself is, man, this isn't Wipeout. And
sure.
so that I have a little buyer's remorse on the Fast RMX because of that. Because it's so much like something else that I've played, but just so not as good.
Sure. Yeah,
and that
I get
doesn't mean
that.
it's bad.
No.
It's just not what I want.
I'm sure you've still found it fun and have gotten some enjoyment out of it, but yeah, I mean, we've all had that time where you're playing a game and it's close to something else that you like better, and you just kind of can't help but think like, I wish I was playing that better thing. I just can't, you know?
Right. I mean, I could. That's the thing, though, is I could. I'm
That's
just
like
not,
how
because it's not the shiny new toy.
Right, right. I mean, it's like how I feel when I play new games that do horde modes and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's cool that this is another horde mode, but it's not as good as Gears, you know? Like, I run into that every time, but...
Well, I think that's weird, though, because it's not like that's the first game you played horde mode in. It just wasn't called horde mode.
What do you mean? Oh, Gears? Yeah, Gears was
like
the
Gears
first...
isn't the first game that you played horde mode in. I mean, that's the first time it was called horde mode, but
right,
that shit we did in Ghost Recon was the exact same thing.
Oh shit! If you want to play if you want to play the what came first game, I mean, like, Clip was all, yeah, it's just Robotron, you know, and you might be able to think of like examples farther back that were like that, you know. But
no, sure, but I mean, like,
yeah.
but I mean, you know, something that I think would hold up today, like if you know, the graphics wouldn't feel as good and stuff, but if we went back and played Ghost Recon and did the same things, like, I think it'd still be a blast.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it would, especially if we could manage to get 16 people together again.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so back on track here. I wanted to talk a bit about Zelda specifically. Like, I know you've completed the game now.
I have.
Personally, I've not completed the game. There are, you know, minor... This isn't really a spoiler, I don't think. This is common knowledge as far as, like, the content of the game. It's not story-related, so don't freak out if you're out there listening. It's about the number of real main dungeons, right? And everything is optional in the game, right? You don't have to go do these dungeons. But
4?
Yeah, there are 4 of them. I've done 2 of them, and I've just reached the 3rd, just to kind of give you an idea of where my progress is at with the game.
Okay.
Are you still feeling the same way? I think 12. I'm one shy of being able to go get the Master Sword.
Have you been to where the Master Sword is yet?
No, I have not.
That whole thing's real cool. From a gameplay perspective, and from like the variety of gameplay and stuff like that, I think that Breath of the Wild is one of the finest games that I've ever played. I think it is always fun to play. The gameplay is dynamic, it's fluid, and it's interesting.
Sure.
When I was getting prepared for the game, there was a video that Nintendo put out that was like 5 minutes long, and there's this scene where Zelda's crying, and she like throws her head onto Link, and like, I don't know what it was, like it brought like that 14-year-old kid who played Ocarina of Time out in me again, and like it, like I could feel like the well of emotions inside me, right? And like,
sure.
When I beat the game though, like I didn't get that at all.
Really?
I didn't. Yeah, like I didn't feel like the story was as cohesive throughout. Because one of the ways that the story is told is you find these memories, and you don't find the memories in order. You find the memories as you stumble upon them. Some of them you find only by completing certain things that happen during the kind of main story.
Sure.
But like, you know, I made a point to go out and find all of them. I haven't, you know, if there's 100% of Zelda to do, I haven't done that. But I have found, what are the small dungeons called?
The shrines.
The shrines. Okay, so the shrines, yeah. I think that there's 130 in the game.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think it's 120. Actually.
Oh, is it 120?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Easy
right
way to
around
remember
100.
that is to think of the stars in Mario 64.
Okay. I am right around 100. So I've done a lot.
Okay.
You know, I mean, like I've really done a lot in the game. I did the Terrytown quest from start to end, which is quite a bit of work. Like, not what you would expect from a Zelda game for like a side quest. Like, I mean, there's serious work there.
Sure.
And as far as like the world and the gameplay and all that stuff is concerned, for me, it's about as good as it gets. Honestly, I can't think of anything where I could say it's better. The story, though, it ended up not hitting with me like I thought it was going to. Like, it didn't resonate with me.
Sure.
The way I thought it would.
You know, I'm feeling the same way so far. I like the characters in the game, and I think
I do too.
There's memorable moments like meeting them and accomplishing certain things and hearing what they have to say, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's not really like it's not one of those games where I can't wait to see what happens next. Like it's
Right.
for me the
It's more like
entire
what will I find next,
yeah
not what happens next.
right
Right? Like that's
yep exactly.
right.
It's all about my personal kind of story that I'm kind of making up in my head as I go, right? I mean, it's not like I don't mean like a full assign, ideas and stuff to characters that are different than what's already there. I just mean in terms of like what I'm doing at the moment, like where my head is at and what my motivations are for like going over here or running over there,
Right.
that kind of thing. And in that regard, it's been awesome. It's funny because it's not a game where I've just been feeling like when I'm away from it, oh man, I gotta get back to Zelda, right? Like it sucks, I gotta do yard work. Oh man, I just want to go play Zelda, or whatever. I just want to play Zelda. Like I'm not getting
I
that.
totally felt that way.
You did? You were just like Zelda,
I
Zelda.
did. I mean, I beat it in the first week it was out.
Oh wow. Yeah, I guess you did, didn't you?
I mean, and then I went back but I beat it early. Okay,
Sure.
so like you were talking about, there's the stuff you can do to, or the big dungeons in the game.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's four major dungeons.
Right.
I would like to say that I don't think any of those dungeons are major dungeons by Zelda standards to me.
Oh boy, I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think they're that big. I don't think you do that much in them.
Okay, they're not super big, but sometimes they can be time consuming. I've had probably both of them
I
took
had
me like an
one.
hour.
I mean, that's okay. But if you okay, so I guess I'll put it like this. If you knew what you were doing, like if you knew how to
Sure.
complete everything,
Sure.
I don't think any of them would take more than 10 minutes.
No, I mean maybe not, but that's not the way I'm playing the game. Like I don't know if you used a guide at all. I'm not implying that you did, but I haven't used a guide for.
I did not.
I haven't used a guide for much at all. There's been like one or two shrines, which are just the little things, where I just could not figure shit out, and so I looked up some, whatever tutorials and stuff on YouTube. But I haven't like read on where things are or who I need to talk to next or where I need to go to get certain item or any of that stuff. And
That is the one thing that I did do, is like I would find a piece of like armor, and I'd be like, oh, I want this complete set. Where's the other stuff at? I
Sure.
did that a couple times.
Sure.
I didn't look up how to get it once, because some of that stuff's in shrines. There are mazes around the map that have a certain set of armor in it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't do any of that trying to find it. But I did look up locations of some of the stuff. It's a big fucking game, man.
It is, and it's fun or funny for me because typically playing open world games, I don't get like when they're before they come out and they're trying to get you excited and they're like the world is so big, it's so big. Some people hear that and they're just like, yeah, awesome. How big is it? And me, I'm just kind of like,
I'm one of those people sometimes.
yeah, sure.
For sure.
And sometimes, most of the time, I hear that and I'm just like, fuck, that means it's going to take me 15 minutes to get from one spot to the next interesting spot, and there's going to be a lot of empty shit in between. Thankfully, that's not been the case for me with Zelda here. And the way that I'm playing it is, now I've decided to go find the third major dungeon, and I've kind of made a beeline for that. But before that, I was really just setting off in a direction to see what was there, and letting whatever I come across along the way go ahead and distract me and pull me toward it, right? Like I didn't feel a sense of like pressure to go do any one particular thing. I just knew that I was going to want to get the Master Sword, and that meant, eventually I was going to have to get up to 13 hearts, so take my time finding shrines if I want to, and in the meantime just kind of explore and get into adventures, and that has absolutely been the best part of the game for me, and that is, in my opinion, totally what sets this game apart from most other games is just that sense of like, you know, freedom, and they're not forcing me to sit and listen to them tell me how to do something or like really pressuring me to go a certain direction or anything. It's just, hey, if you want to go this direction, there's nothing stopping you. Like not even not even an artificial barrier. There we go, got it out. Where like sometimes you get into games, it's like, oh, you might want to get to the, you know, if you're playing Grand Theft Auto or something like that, right? Oh, that's a really tall building. I wonder if I can get to the top of that. Nope, you can't. You know, not unless you got like a helicopter or something, or really finagled something out, right? But or other games like Skyrim, sometimes there's just like a mountain you can't climb because you're not supposed to, because the mountain's there to keep you from going a certain direction any further, you know? And
Right.
I understand that eventually Zelda's going to have its boundaries, right? But the majority of my experience has been that there aren't boundaries, and that when I want to go somewhere, I've got the means to scale the mountain, and usually there's like a place where you can get a foothold part of the way up. So even though I've only upgraded my stamina a couple of times, I haven't run into anything that I couldn't really climb yet because of the way that it's designed, and that's been fun. Like sometimes climbing the damn cliff itself is an objective for me that becomes the thing that I'm focused on and the reason I'm playing the game, as weird as that might sound. And
No, I get it.
and that's really cool. That's fun. And now recently I got an ability that makes going vertically quickly a hell of a lot easier. So now I'm like really feeling like the leash is off, and that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just cool, man. I still stand by everything I was feeling, and after my like initial introductory period with it for our last podcast, you know, I was feeling this sense of awe and wonder. That's all still there. I love how you'll be running along and you'll encounter a group of enemies, and they could possibly just be super hard, or you know, maybe everything's going right for you, but then all of a sudden, oh shit, it's the blood moon, you know? And and that kind of thing happens, and there just seems to be a lot of depth to the world, and I really dig it. I appreciate that. I think this is like absolutely one of those games that you buy a system for. If you don't own a Wii U or a Switch, you should buy one of the two. Although I would think going forward now it should probably be the Switch, just because that's where things are going to be coming out. But yeah, I think this is totally a system seller, and I get the review scores. And I know I've been going on a bit of a long rant here, and I'll just close up by saying that I know Jim Sterling got a lot of shit for, you know, being one of the outliers who didn't give the game a 10 out of 10. I've listened to him talk about his complaints, as well as a lot of other people voicing the same kind of complaints that he had. Just about like weapon durability being really tough to get over for a while. Certain complaints with
It's
like...
annoying.
Yeah, it is. And like even little things like, okay, you might be carrying 8 weapons, but if you break one, you don't automatically pull out the next one. You have to go into your menu, equip it, then get back into it, and it would be a lot more serviceable to the player if you could just have him automatically pull out the next weapon in line, right? Like
I mean,
these...
you have to touch 2 buttons.
No, I totally get that. Like, I see both sides here, right? It's a little inconvenient, but it's not the end of the world. But I think when you have a lot of those little things adding up, like giving the game, you know, saying, hey, this isn't a 10 for me, I get it. You know, I can see it. But I don't think this is one of those situations where, like, the extremely high praise that the game has gotten isn't warranted, right? Because I feel like it is, and I get when people talk about the feeling that they get playing the game, it makes sense to me and it resonates with me, because I've got those feelings too at times, and I feel like it's really easy to understand someone getting excited about this game, you know?
I think that I mean, no one says that Jim Sterling's a journalist, right? I don't think that is a opinion that is held of him.
Not really. I mean, he's just a dude who plays video games and, you know, has an opinion on
stuff. But he's a critic
stuff.
and he gets paid for it, right?
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure that he's getting free copies of games and stuff for reviews and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, people send him stuff all the time.
Right. Okay. And so, like, if your job is to be critical of things, right? And I mean, because that's how he makes his living, is being critical of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that you need to be able to have some objectivity.
Yeah.
And like I said, like the depth of the gameplay that's in Zelda, the depth in the world and the environment, like you were talking about, like it's really big, but it doesn't feel like it's filler.
Right.
And one of the biggest objectives for me playing the game early on was finding all the towers to reveal all the map, and also because when you're on those high points, you can see the shrines. Then you go to the shrines, you fill up your hearts, you go get the Master Sword. That was my initial goal in the game, was getting the Master Sword. I found out it was in the game, I wanted it. That was bottom line.
Right.
But, and I was talking to our friend Major Maxim, who was on the show with us last time we did it, and I was saying, I've got all the map revealed, and so that might make someone think, oh, you've seen everything.
Sure.
But Zelda is so dense in the environment that literally you could walk 15 degrees in one direction and totally have missed something interesting that was just, 100 paces north of you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And there is stuff like that all over the game. And, you'd look at a map like, let's say Skyrim, and it looks like there's all these things all over the place. Well, there is, except it's the same feeling cave over and over and over.
Right.
And I love the Elder Scrolls. I mean, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find somebody who's put more time into the Elder Scrolls games than me, as a fan paying their own money to buy these games.
Sure.
And so I just think that it's you need to be objective enough to be like, okay, at the end of the day, like weapon durability and me being too fucking lazy to press 2 buttons doesn't not make this one of the best games ever made.
Sure.
And I think that, like I said, from the gameplay and the world, the environment, that standpoint, it's really one of the best games that ever has been made. And my phone is ringing, so...
So we interrupt this podcast for a phone call?
Hold on. I don't recognize the number.
Well, then don't answer it, because fuck them, that's why. I never answer the phone when I'm getting a call from some number I don't recognize. Let them leave a voicemail. And he's answered it.
Well, that isn't, I had to answer, yeah.
Sure.
That isn't what I do. First of all, if someone's calling me, I answer the phone, because that's why I have a phone, so people can fucking call me.
Two very different takes.
But, well, I mean, sometimes people call for,
So you're not on the phone call, obviously, if you're talking to me.
No, I'm not.
Alright, so let's move on.
Happening.
Okay, so I don't want to stick on the Switch too much longer, but I do want to just offer a quick opinion on the state of the system itself on the platform a month out, and I'd like you to weigh in on it also, and kind of give your thoughts. But I'm seeing people online kind of express this fear over not having games get announced for this thing. They're like, oh no, here we are a month in, and we don't know any more about the release list than we knew a month before the thing came out. And I'm kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, what did you expect? That you were going to buy one, and then, within that same week is, this game's coming out, like, people are asking for things like Overwatch on the Switch, and getting kind of excited about it like it's a possibility. And while nothing's out of the realm of possibility for sure, I don't think... I just don't expect a lot out of it in terms of third-party stuff, and I think
Hold
if
on,
you do...
it's my wife.
Okay. I'll have some editing to do.
sorry about that. I knew that it was a thing that I had to, like, be concerned about.
Oh, sure. No problem.
Because my wife has been having a hell of a day at work. And it looks like that is continuing, so...
Sure. Well,
so
fair
I
enough.
thought, oh shit, and I wasn't paying enough attention to my cell phone because she sent me a text telling me that her phone was dying and that she would be calling me from another phone, which is the phone number that I did not recognize.
Gotcha.
But it was a cell phone in Oregon, so I thought, well, hell, I should probably be answering this.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, because it's the middle of the fucking day, right?
Right.
Right. So.
Okay, I'm just gonna start over because I lost my train of thought. A quick
Sweet,
recap.
have fun editing that.
Yeah, I know. It's fine. I think I should be able to find my spot and then just cut everything from I think I'm getting a phone call up until about right now.
Okay.
So anyway, we're looking at the Switch. We're a month out, and I've seen people kind of talking about how they're concerned about the future of the system because they're not seeing enough games get announced yet. And
Who said that?
I've seen that expressed on various message boards and on Twitter, and I guess
Wait,
I just
who?
I don't know, I didn't write down names.
Give me their name and address. I'm going to take this up with them personally.
Go to their house and slap them around.
All right, go ahead, sorry.
No, I think people are getting a little carried away with this idea that, a month in a game system should have, this big lineup announced. For one thing, don't forget that PS4 launched and had 5 games or something, and we didn't know a whole hell of a lot about what was coming, 6 months
right
or even
company,
12 months.
Wrong console. You're using the right company, but you're using the wrong console.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the PS3 had 6 games launch, and they were
Right.
all shit. They were all garbage.
It had
Because I
MotorStorm.
went back. Oh, did MotorStorm launch?
Yeah, it had MotorStorm at launch.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
shit, did
Well,
it not?
other than
Maybe it
MotorStorm-
didn't.
Although
I take it back.
MotorStorm I don't think was a launch game.
There was a demo at launch. That's right. That's why I'm thinking of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all the games sucked, and I know this, and I can't name them off the top of my head, but I know this because I went back to try and play them again.
Right.
Because Enchanted Arms launched with the 360,
Uh-huh.
and I went back and played that, and it was actually good. It was a good JRPG.
Sure.
And so I tried to do the same thing with the PS3, and that was a mistake. Like, I just blew my money twice. So, anyway, no, but that game launch was shit. And although the difference, and I will say this for both of Sony's 2 latest console releases, is that they were actually full-fledged games. There was more than one full-fledged game out on the system.
Yeah,
And
sure, that's
the
fair.
Switch has one.
Right. So anyway, I wanted to just kind of address that concern over no games being announced. First off, we're a month out. Second, E3 is coming up in June, and they're already starting to beat their chest a little bit. And, like, for example, Reggie said, yeah, it's going to be a huge E3 for us this year. So just hang tight, and also, if you bought this thing at this point in its life, clearly you went into it knowing a little bit about what you were getting yourself into, right? Because if you didn't, you just, I don't know, man. I don't think that there's a lot of room to say, like, hey, I bought this thing. Where's all the games? I mean, the games were there at day one, and I think that's fair to say that, or it's fair to say that it's going to be this way for a little while. 1, because it's Nintendo, and 2, it's just the time of year. And 3, also, I think if you did your homework, you'd know that 1, I am not just doing lists like crazy here.
Numbers.
Yeah.
I know 2 numbers, 1 and 2.
1. So listen, 1. I just think if you came to a Nintendo system expecting a lot of third-party stuff, and especially right off the bat, you don't know your Nintendo history, and it's unrealistic also to expect things like Overwatch, for example, which I've heard people say they want on the Switch. I could be wrong. Maybe that'll happen, but I highly doubt it, and I wouldn't expect it. Because when's the last time Blizzard put anything on a Nintendo system? And also, the power just isn't on the level of the PS4 and the Xbox One, and maybe you could make that argument because I know that Blizzard likes to do their stuff on that engine that's so scalable and everything. But any other example, you'd be, I think you'd be hard pressed to make that point about, how it could come to all three systems. I still think that on the Switch, you should be expecting to get games that aren't on PS4 and Xbox, or if they are, it's not going to be the same. And I think it's totally fair to say that.
I mean,
Why
look
at, for example,
not going to be the same?
One, doesn't have the power. Two, I just don't think that third parties are taking it seriously yet, and Nintendo certainly doesn't take their online seriously.
Well, that is a matter of interesting conversation that I don't know that we really want to get into, but I would tell you that the online stuff that was on the Wii U played really well online.
The
problem is, right, if you don't have the voice chat, you don't have the parties, right?
Right.
But it was kind of the same on the PS3 with a lot of stuff. It seemed like I would play a game online on the PS3, and it would run better than it did on the Xbox 360. But maybe that's because I wasn't in a party. I didn't have the voice, all that shit going on sometimes.
I just think expectations are...
Nintendo...
Go ahead. Finish your thought. Sorry.
Well, no. I mean, look, I don't think that the expectations are unfair. I just think they're wrong. I mean, if you go back and you look at the kind of games that come out for consoles over their first few months, it is obviously an easy transition, or not an easy transition, but an expected transition, a well-prepared for transition when you go from Xbox to Xbox 360 to Xbox One. When you go from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4. And we get in this place where these expected titles, these yearly titles, right? Like we have these yearly titles, and we expect them to be coming out on the new systems every time that happens, right? So one of the big ones is a big market that I spend way too much money on is sports games, right? And so I just got MLB The Show. I know that's going to come out every year. That happens to be a Sony product, though, so I know that it's going to come out on PS4. If the PS4 were to launch in April, then I would expect MLB The Show to be there at launch. And so, but even Madden and the 2K stuff and all the EA Sports games, right? We expect those to come to our new consoles. You know what else we expect, though, when a PS4 comes out or when an Xbox One comes out and the Xbox 360 is the dominant platform or the PS3 is the dominant platform? We do not expect that PS4 or Xbox One launch to be PS4 or Xbox One quality, right?
Sure.
Like that's something that we can expect, and that's something as gamers who buy new consoles every time they come out. It's something that we know. Now the average Joe might not realize that, might not understand why. Hey, why does this version of Madden feel just like my old version of Madden? Well, it's because Madden's felt the same for 20 fucking years, but that's another story.
Sure.
But if we're talking about actual games getting released, first month's been slow. I mean, I think we can agree on that. But I would tell you that Mario Kart's going to come out. Yeah, we've seen Mario Kart before, but that's a major game release. That's a real full-fledged racing game with a ton of crap in it. And it's cutesy Mario, so I guess it's not Forza, but it'd be just as much fun as Forza.
Sure.
Lego City is coming out. That's a full-fledged game. Yes, it's been seen before. Yes, it's actually coming to the other consoles now. But that's a full-fledged game coming this month. There are other full-fledged games coming this month. Splatoon, or, well, in this month, I mean over the next month, but in April.
Right.
Splatoon is coming out in May. And that is, a legitimate release. So I think that there are games coming. The Dragon Quest Heroes games, 1 and 2, is coming to Switch. That's going to come out in the next couple months.
Right.
We know that, Xenoblade Chronicles is going to come out probably sometime this year.
Right.
We know that there is a Mario coming out in October. Please tell me it's equivalent coming out on the Xbox this year.
Crickets.
Right.
Right.
Like there's a Zelda and a Mario game that are going to come to the Switch this year. Halo Wars. That's what came out on the fucking Xbox this year.
Right.
And
so far.
So I think people need to calm the fuck down. Because because really the expectations are just wrong. The third-party stuff, we got to see how that sorts itself out, man. Like the online stuff, that shit's a mess. I mean, and it's been that way with Nintendo for a long time. And so, like you said, this isn't something that should be surprising people.
Yeah.
But I think that the expectations are wrong. Like there's going to be some Fire Emblems thing that comes out at some point. Maybe it's not this year. Maybe it'll be next year. But like I said, there's already one better exclusive on the fucking on the Switch than there is on the Xbox for this year. So
I totally hear you. Yeah, I just think the games will come, but you gotta expect the right kind of games, and I think it's fair to say that, like, based on history, it's probably going to be really first-party driven as far as where the platform is, at least for the first couple of years, and probably throughout its life cycle, I would think, just because now, if you're combining the efforts of 3DS development and Wii U development into one system, and I know that they said they're going to...
I think you're wrong about that.
You think so?
I
mean, where else
think
is
they're
there...
abandoning the 3DS.
No, they said they were going to support it for another year, right? But
until the fucking new fucking just handheld comes out. Like, I think you're wrong.
No way. Why would you put out another handheld when you have a handheld? Like, you're totally going to cannibalize your own market.
And the DS and the handheld, the purely handheld systems have carried that company for fucking 20 years.
Right, I hear you, but what are they going to do differently from the Switch? What are they going to bring to the table that's different than what Switch can do now?
Lamer. It's not going to be able to do as much. It's going to be some other lesser thing.
I just don't see what the point is, because that's the 3DS right now. What, you're going to put out some kind of stopgap between the 3DS
and the Switch?
But why?
It'll be the Vita.
What's the point? I mean, if you're going to bring out the Vita, then you're going to just... Why not just put that effort into the Switch?
10-hour battery life, and it's gonna,
No. I think you're more likely to see.
For 2 hours.
You're more likely to see a Switch hardware revision than you are a separate line of handheld, because
we'll see.
I don't think that will be the way that they go, and if they do go that way, I really can't grasp the logic there.
Because if you're right, that means that there's better content on the Switch.
Right.
I mean, like.
I want all that 3DS stuff. I would love
the next Pokemon game to be a Switch game.
Right.
I
don't see why it wouldn't be. Like, they said that they're hiring for a world-renowned, an RPG franchise loved the world over.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying that's Pokemon, so, why wouldn't that be on the Switch?
Where
else is it gonna go?
Nintendo does weird shit. I don't know. I mean, like, think of Fire Emblem being a fully 3D game. Have you played one of the Fire Emblems recently?
No, I've not played any Fire Emblems.
Oh, dude. Fire Emblem is the biz. I mean, Fire Emblem is worth buying a 3DS for.
Yeah, I've considered it from time to time. I've heard great things.
But I get it. We don't. Good on you, man. Good on you not spending that fucking money like I do. So, no, I'm
oh,
seriously.
Please. That's like the one time I get to enjoy that tiny bit of praise. I have no restraint.
Not really, because you were talking about the 9 games or whatever that you saw Metacritic so well that are all Game of the Year candidates so far, and I've played fucking all of them but one, and you've played 3 of them. You know what I mean? So, like, and the list was like 10. So,
right.
No, there is definitely a lack of self-control on my part that is unbeknownst to man, but
okay, so let's not spend too much more time on talking about that stuff, because I know you want to talk about Mass Effect, and we want to talk about a couple of other things here before we wrap this up. So I've said my piece on the Switch a month out. I think it's great. Games are coming. Just chill. Wait for E3. Enjoy Zelda.
So I'm going to be a hypocrite now, because I'm going to say the one thing about the Switch is I do wish I had something besides Zelda to play.
Sure. Yeah, hey, I kind of do too. It would be great to see, like, if Persona 5 were coming out on Switch. That'd be really cool.
Oh, dude, that's where I'd buy it.
Yeah,
for
totally.
Sure. Because it's funny, because Dude, I don't know if you watched that IGN review that they put up, that I posted in the chat, but it's like 4 minutes, and it's, they don't really say anything very interesting. Just, wow, this game's really great, right?
Sure.
And, and I've read other reviews and stuff, and you don't need to hype me for Persona, because I still have my copy from the PlayStation 2 of Persona 4, and I've got my copy on the Vita. No, I don't. Do I? No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't have my copy on the Vita. I bought it again on the Vita digitally. Someone else has my copy on the Vita. But anyway, like I've got 3 versions of Persona 4.
Right.
That I've bought. And so like I'm a really big fan, but the one thing that I've thought to myself that it's like, man, I wish I could play it handheld. And I don't know why, because it looks like there's a lot more depth to the gameplay this time around. I mean, if we're just being... I mean, it's been, 10 years since Persona 4 actually came out the first time? I think?
Yeah.
It's PS2.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, I guess so.
So, yeah, I think it is 10 years. Wow. So, I mean, obviously, the gameplay is going to be deeper and different and more significant.
Right.
So that's not something that I think we should be. And I don't know, maybe the Vita couldn't do it because they didn't put it on the Vita.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's getting a PS3 port, but yeah, again, is Vita on the level of PS3? I don't think so, but
no, it's under it for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny. That is the one thing is like, man, I wish I could play that because watching the stuff that I have on Persona 5, it doesn't look like it's something that couldn't be done on the Switch.
Sure.
And they do make games for Nintendo products.
They certainly do.
Shin Megami Tensei came out on 3DS, so.
And there's another one of those dealies coming to Switch already.
Right.
So, yeah.
Those games are good, too. That's another reason to own a 3DS. The last Shin Megami Tensei that came out was really good.
Sure.
But, anyway, yeah. So, that is my one thing. Although, dude, I am super hyped up for Persona 5.
Yeah, good. I was going to say, since you mentioned it, let's just get that out of the way now.
I watched an unboxing video. I never watch unboxing stuff. What the fuck do I care about unboxing? I mean, I'm going to get it myself and I'll unbox it, right? I mean,
right.
But I got so, involved in it that I was watching these 2 nerds from Atlas, opening the box up. First of all, the steel case is beautiful, inside and out. I mean, it is really well done. I think it's going to put my my Final Fantasy 15 case, definitely give it a run for the money. And my Valkyria Chronicles, I love my Valkyria Chronicles case too.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's beautiful.
And I think that it will be a fantastic addition to those. It looks really neat. It's got all the characters on the front and back, and it just looks really cool. The little plushie. That's dumb, but one of my girls will love it. Speaking of which, my oldest daughter is turning 14 on Sunday. If you haven't had your feeling old moment of the day, there it is for you.
Sure.
Because it makes me feel old. It makes her feel old. She's like, I can't believe I'm 14.
Right.
Yeah, no shit, me neither.
Right.
But, anyway. But, also there's the little, carry bag thing, and it was funny because they stuffed a bunch of stuff into it just to be like, hey, it's actually pretty big. My laptop's in here, I've got a bunch of books in here, and they were like, hey, we actually wouldn't recommend putting a laptop in here because we don't have any kind of really nice lining or cushion, so be careful with that, but it does fit. It's like, okay.
Sure.
But the art book looks very nice, and the soundtrack, killer. I mean, I love the soundtrack from 4. So to be able to have that
Top
and actually
shelf.
put it in my CD player in my car, I am all about that.
If you can find it, sorry, I was just going to say, since you were talking about the soundtrack, if you can find the Disco Fever edition of Persona 4 Dancing All Night for Vita, that comes with a 2-disc soundtrack, and I've had that in my car for a while. I don't love every track on it, but there are way more good ones than there are skippers.
Right.
And the actual just regular ass vanilla Persona 4 Golden soundtrack, because these are all remixes on Dancing All Night, right? Just the regular Golden soundtrack is, I'm a huge fan of it too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that about 5.
I'm a big anime fan, and the people who've listened to the show in the past know that if we have any newcomers, well, thank you first of all, and second, now you got me numbering shit. What the fuck's wrong with you? Anyway, but I love how anime Persona is. Like it is such an anime-ass game. It's,
Sure.
You know, you're play. It's basically you're watching the kids in school until they're out of school, and then they're doing crazy shit, and that is half of anime.
Right.
And when you're really lucky, and when you find a really good one, you get really great music. And some of my favorite anime, like Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop, who are both made by the same person, so it makes sense that they both have fantastic music. That they're enhanced so much by having these wonderful soundtracks as you play the game. And when the style is right and the music is right, it enhances the experience so much, and that's why I look forward to Persona 5, because that's what, especially Persona 4 Golden, the release on the Vita, that's what that game was. And, you know, I spent years trying to get you to play that game.
Yeah, I certainly took my time.
If I had to ask you, what's your favorite game on the Vita, Andrew, what would your response be?
Oh yeah, it's totally Persona 4 Golden.
Right.
Even though I'm still sore about the way that turned out for me, man. But that's another discussion. Yeah, I am.
Well.
Thankfully,
I was pretty happy about it.
Persona 5 doesn't have anything like that, so it sounds like there isn't any. It's not like I have to consult a fucking guide when I get started in Persona 5 just to make sure I don't miss something absolutely critical. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. Well, it does look like you
can miss a ton of stuff, though. And like that's the thing that I've taken from like people's impressions and people's like who have played through the game. It's like it seems like everybody who really likes it, and I already know I'll be one of the people that really likes it. I've been playing Persona for a long time. But it's like instantly, like I just put 100 hours into this game, let me start it again. That is saying something.
Sure.
Because after I put 100 hours into a game, I'm very rarely like, oh, I gotta just start it again. Like that is never a thought. I get the thought of, okay, let me go finish some stuff, but not let me start from scratch.
Right.
Because Persona is not a new game plus kind of game, or they never have been in the past. Not really. You know, like you're doing it to make different decisions. Like it's all about, you know, spending your time differently to see how things run out. And I was listening to something or reading something, and they have people in the game now who are confidants that you can spend time with.
Yeah. And
there's 20 of them. And the IGN review I was saying that I watched, that I posted that link to in our Google Hangout, he was saying some of those stories he thought were on par with the main story, and that this is the best main story that any of the games have ever had.
Right on.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. Can't wait to spend 100 hours playing that fucking game. Also, because if anything, might prevent me from buying other stuff.
Right.
And I don't have anything else on the docket until the end of next month.
Right.
So, because I just went nuts buying games this month. Like, I might have caused my family financial hardship. I don't know. Like, I don't think I'm getting anything for my 14-year-old for her birthday. So.
I know you're kidding. It's hard. It's hard though when there's so many. We've had such a crazy first quarter of absolute heavy hitters this year. So yeah, I mean, I get it.
Well, so you bought Nier, right?
Yeah, I have Nier Automata,
but you haven't played that
No, that's my plan for this weekend.
Well, I know we didn't really plan on talking about it, but like, I'll just let you say, like, dude, play it until you fight the boss in the amusement park.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta give it that long. You fight that boss in the amusement park, and you're gonna be like, oh shit, this is cool. Like, this is really neat.
I already know enough.
You play the first 2 hours, and you're gonna be like, man, this is really weird.
Nah, I already know enough to know that I'm going to see that thing all the way through, just based on what I've seen with gameplay and stuff, and what I've read, and all this stuff about
the gameplay's uneven.
The multiple endings.
Yeah, I mean, it really... there's supposed to be like 26 endings or something, I think. But it really surprised me after putting the amount of time that I have, and I haven't beat it yet, but that it's reviewed so well.
I don't know that there's 26 endings.
Really,
I think it's A through. I've heard like A through E. You can get like, ending
5.
A, B, C, D, E. Which
really?
and I've heard that it's based on multiple playthroughs, and I don't want to spoil things here because there might be some things that you don't know that might end up being surprises. I haven't really been afraid of spoilers beyond just like. I don't read what people have been saying happens for each ending. I've just been seeing kind of the conditions for different endings and about how many people have talked about, And granted, I haven't made my way through all of it, so I could be off base. Maybe there are 26, but I've only heard people talk about endings A through E. So, just throwing that out there. But yeah, I mean... Going back to what we were originally talking about a little bit ago, just how strong of a first quarter it's been this year and how many games there are to buy and play. I mean, there's been a good number of Game of the Year contenders, and then just, solid, God, I guess what's the term I'm looking for here?
Nier Automata has a total of 26 endings.
Holy cow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Now I lost my train of thought. Yeah, strong year. We'll go with that. Strong year for games, lots to buy. Moving on.
Too much to buy.
Yeah, too much to buy. So moving on. Have you said everything you wanted to say about Persona? You're hyped, right? You're hyped. I'm hyped.
It's so stoked. Yeah, like getting antsy about it, which really doesn't happen very often.
It's fun to get antsy, man. That's how I was about Gears 4 last year. I could like barely freaking sit still.
Dude, it's hard for me though, because it's like I've got all these games to play, right? Like you were talking about it, and like I was talking about it. Like I'm just looking across my room at games, right? And there's like 5 games that I've gotten last month. It's killing me. But I have beat 2 of the games that I can see right now. Okay. I beat Neo. I beat Mass Effect Andromeda. I've played a bit of Nier. I think I could probably beat Nier tomorrow if I wanted to, for the first time, right? Like I would guess.
Sure.
And like, so, and honestly, like, I've been real good about beating stuff this year, like, as compared to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I still got to go back and beat Deus Ex, which I've probably got an hour of the game left. But, like, I get to the point, I do this all the time, where I get to the end of games, and it's like, well, I don't want it to be the end of the game, so I stop playing it.
Sure.
It's like, I never beat it, which is stupid. But Dishonored 2 is something else that I have that I need to finish, that I put a lot of time into. But anyway, I was going somewhere. Oh, but I've been better about it this year. Like, I beat Zelda, I beat Mass Effect, I beat Neo. I haven't beat Horizon, but I've got a lot of time into it, and I will go back and beat it. But I wanted to get Mass Effect done before I got to Persona.
Yeah.
Because I have this feeling that once I start playing Persona, other than playing MLB The Show, which is another game that I just bought. Seriously, what the fuck? Like, I'll play MLB The Show and to mix it up and stuff like that, because I like my baseball game and I want to play it. But I'm going to pretty much be focused on Persona.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Mass Effect Andromeda done, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. And I wanted to talk about it because it has been getting review scores that I think were really unexpected by people.
Yeah.
Everybody assumed that after the original Mass Effect trilogy, that this one would come out and it would be 9s. Like that would be the reviews. It would be all 9s.
Yeah.
And it's funny
If not
because
10s.
I actually, yeah, if not 10s, it's funny to me because a lot of the complaints that I've seen people have about the game are completely legitimate. However, they would have been pretty legitimate in all of the other Mass Effect games. Maybe not the same complaints, but equally, I think complaints that would have risen to the same level. And I just played through the Mass Effect games before Andromeda came out. Where do I find all this time? Good question. Anyway, I played through Mass Effect 1, I played through Mass Effect 2, I played some of Mass Effect 3. It is such a fucking depressing game that I could not bring myself to play through it all the way through.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that the last 3 hours of the game just felt like getting kicked in the nuts over and over and over again.
Sure.
But, dude, beginning of the game, not a ton better. I mean,
Sure.
it is just a depressing fucking.
Yeah,
it
you're just
shocks
in
me that I
dire.
ever played through that game.
You're in dire straits in Mass Effect 3. I mean, it's pretty grim. Yeah, it's definitely
Right.
it's one of those few games where like the fate of the universe and life as you know it hangs in the balance, and it actually feels that way as you're playing it. Like so many
Yeah.
games make the stakes so high, but it never really kind of feels. Sometimes it's just you're playing a video game and whatever. Things don't really have severe consequences, but boy, not in Mass Effect 3.
No, in Mass Effect 3, it's serious, and they want to let you know that.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say to anyone who is a fan of the Mass Effect series is you feel free to buy Andromeda and enjoy it. You will. The gameplay is the best that it's been in the series, but it is definitely starting to show some things that maybe we even saw a little bit at the end of Mass Effect 3, that it doesn't feel like a lot of stuff happens organically in these games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You do your thing, you go around and talk to everybody, like, oh, I just finished a major story point in the game, now I need to go talk to everybody to advance the conversation. And then once the conversation is advanced, they have absolutely nothing to say to you that you haven't
Right.
already heard before.
Sure.
And and part of the problem with that is that these people are with you all the time. So
Right.
and so it's like I have found myself comparing every RPG I play to The Witcher 3, which is really unfair to every other RPG I play. And the reason I say that is because I think that The Witcher 3 is the best RPG that's ever been made.
Sure.
And I've put a lot of thought into that recently because I think that's a pretty big statement to make.
I don't think that that's that unfair though, because it's like with any game that sets a new high watermark in its genre, you can't
Right.
help but think of that game every time you play something else in there.
Right, but it's got, the gameplay, the rich world, the storytelling, all of it is done very well. And so, but the thing that Geralt has, and the luxury that the people that make The Witcher 3 have, is that he's out there by himself. He doesn't have this cast of characters drug along with him who always have to have something to say.
Right.
Something different. So when you're going to talk to somebody in The Witcher, it's because they have something different to say. You're not going back to these people because you've got to move on with the next piece of this quest. There's not this place that you're always returning to. And so that's it's a luxury that a game like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, which is also BioWare, but it's a luxury that those games don't have. It's also a luxury that the Elder Scrolls games have, right? Because you're out there by yourself. And so I thought about that, and I thought, well, hell, if you finish Mass Effect like I did, you can have different love interests. there are a lot of different love interests from a Mass Effect standpoint, because there are the people on your ship, but then there are also some people off the ship that you can kind of get involved with.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to somebody today who told me that Mass Effect Andromeda is not supposed to be part of a trilogy, that it's supposed to be a standalone game.
Yeah. I've heard that, yeah.
That seems fucking possible to me. I really liked the end. I thought the end was well done. It seemed like a lot of stuff was unresolved, though, from, like, people that you were supposed to see again, who, like, told you, this isn't the last you're going to see of me, basically, right?
Sure.
So if that is, if that's the case, if what those people were telling me is true, then I've got to see them again, right? And how is that
Sure.
going to happen? If this is the only one, I mean, I guess you could have a new hero, same galaxy, right? I mean, it's the Andromeda Galaxy, not the Milky Way.
Well, I mean, like,
But,
look at how Dragon Age does their games now. You know, you have a new protagonist every time.
True.
So Mass Effect could do that.
They could, but I mean, it's specific bones to pick with your character.
Okay, sure.
You know, there was a really cool. So after you beat the game, you can keep playing the game. There's this little tidbit, and I heard a familiar voice, and I really wish that I could share it with you. You especially, Andrew. But but I can't because it's spoiler territory. But it must be like a piece of DLC that's in the pipe or something, right?
Right.
And I tell you what, it really disappoints me that Mass Effect doesn't have a season pass, because the Mass Effect 3 DLC is still like $70 if you want to get it for the Xbox 360 or PS3. And like the prices never went down on that, which means that I will never buy it. But if it was all $5 a piece, I would totally buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they had offered it, you know, at some point for $40, I probably would have bought it. Like, and that's the same with Andromeda. Like, if they offered all the, you know, combined DLC and they said there were going to be 3 pieces for $40, I'd do it. But thinking, you know, it's going to be $20 a piece, there's no way it's going to be worth the cost of the entire game.
Sure.
Anyway, to go back a little bit to the complaints people have about the game has goofy-ass animations sometimes on people's faces. There are times where your character will have some real dumbass looks, and it happened nowhere near as often as happens in Andromeda. For example, you posted that picture of Peebee, who is an Asari character in Mass Effect Andromeda, and you made a comment about how she looked goofy. She does not fucking look like that all the time. Like, that is not her walking around the face.
Sure.
So, like, when you posted that, I was like, yeah, I've seen this picture before.
Yeah.
Like, people find the worst moment, and then that's what defines you.
Wait, are you talking about
the
picture I posted in the chat today? When you
today,
talked?
yeah.
Oh, because that isn't even the worst moment from the game. That's actually just promotional art that BioWare put out prior to the game's release.
It is totally the worst moment, though. Like, that is as bad as she ever looks, is that picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's on BioWare for putting that out.
No, right, sure. But that's the thing, is like, that is not how she walks around looking. Now, she has more of a cute look to her most of the time than like Liara did.
Sure.
But there's another Asari who you can kind of romance, and she is much prettier than Peebee is moment to moment, I would tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever. I mean, but you can romance the Angara, who look weird. I mean, they look like frog people. So I don't know. I mean.
Yeah. Well, women have wanted to romance Garrus, so you know.
Right, well, you can. Well, not Garrus, but you can. You can romance a Turian in Andromeda.
Sure. Yeah, I've heard that.
And they've got like a carapace. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't think that their clothes come off. You
right.
know, whereas like I got to see blue ass and titties bouncing around with my love thing. I don't think that's something you get to see with the Turians. I think that their suits stay on.
I guess we'll never know, because there's no way to find out.
I thought about doing it just to see what their bodies would look like, but as far as I can tell, that's not an option.
Sure. Are there Turian women?
Yeah, Turian women.
I don't remember that from the... I don't remember if that was in Mass Effect 2 or 3, if there were ever Turian women or not.
There were Turian women.
Yeah, okay.
There were Turian women. There aren't Asari men.
Right. I remember that much. And the Asari live for like hundreds of years. I remember that part.
Yeah, but the Krogan live... and not hundreds of years. Like I think they get to around a millennia. And so do the Krogan. The Krogan are 1,000-year livers.
Ah, okay.
But anyway, like one of the big complaints I saw was like the animation thing, and that's a thing throughout the game that'll happen occasionally, and like you'll see it and you'll be like, oh, that's fucking stupid, and then you'll be off doing something, so you won't be thinking about it anymore. It is not as big of a deal as people have made it out to be, even though sometimes the animations are terrible, and it is perfectly fine to judge EA for that.
Sure.
By the way, I'm pretty sure that the team that made this Mass Effect is the team that made the Army of Two games, not the team that generally makes Mass Effect.
Oh, that's an interesting
So if we're wondering why the total quality is different, and I know you really like Army of Two, but I think we could agree that those aren't always the same quality as what we would expect from a Mass Effect game.
No, yeah, totally.
Anyway, so that's fair. Like that, but it's not something that sticks in your mind forever.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading, the characters in this aren't as likable as the characters in the other Mass Effect series. In the other Mass Effect series, absolutely. The original Mass Effect, though, the beginning of the trilogy, I didn't like Kaidan and I didn't like Ashley.
Yeah.
Did not like. Like it wasn't just that I didn't think they were that interesting. Like, I didn't like them. Like, I actively did not like those characters. And those are supposed to be characters that you like because they're both love interests. So that whole thing, that, like, all the characters, dude, the Krogan Drac is hilarious. Like, that dude keeps me rolling playing Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he says really funny stuff. PB, although she has goofy looks on her face sometimes, is interesting and funny and does shit that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like Cora. The relationship with Cora is a little bit weird, and that is what makes her, I think, potentially not likable. But it makes sense because of the way that she's written, and not her as a person. But there's a tension between you and her because of the way things play out in the story. Jaal is the Angaran person who can be on your crew. He is incredibly interesting. He says stuff that makes me laugh very often. Liam, I do not really care for. Vetra, who is the Turian, who is on your crew, and also one of the characters that you can go out with, I like her just fine.
Mm-hmm.
She's Garrus to me. Like, I like her, but not my favorite.
Sure.
There is no Tali Zora Voss Normandy. I mean, she's not in the game.
Sure.
But that's okay, because she wasn't really her in the first game either.
Right.
You know, it was more in the second and third games where she was really able to shine. And anyway, and the story's interesting, man. Like, it just is. Like, there is some really deep stuff that they're talking about and the implications, and I think that stuff's cool. When you start out the game, it seems like everything is a mystery to be answered, which is really cool. You get answers to those mysteries. It's really weird, though, that it's a standalone game, because it really feels like they're building up to something so much bigger. I've heard that people say, oh, it's just like the first one. No, it is not just like the first trilogy. Yeah, there's an enemy. Yeah, that enemy is serious. That enemy is not the Reapers. The Reapers are something else. The Reapers are an extinction-level event for everyone. No chance of fighting back. Like, nobody thought we're going to fight and win. People thought we're going to fight because we don't want to die.
Right.
This isn't America versus Russia. You know, this is kindergarteners versus guys our size.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that is the fight that takes place in the first Mass Effect trilogy. I mean, it's just an unwinnable battle.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's and that is not how it seems. Now it does seem like it would be tough, and tougher than just tough, like really, really difficult, but you make good progress. I mean, you're doing stuff, like you're working towards it, like you see that it's an enemy that can be beat. And it doesn't seem like there's some big mysterious power beyond these people that you're fighting either, that are a problem for you, although there may be something greater going on, which is really interesting, and which is why I can't believe that they're not going to continue the story. Like, man, that is really throwing me off that they're not going to continue the story. Because there was just some stuff that, like, is in the game that, I mean, I'd be pretty disappointed if I didn't ever get an answer to some of it. Maybe I got to read the book or something.
Sure.
But, anyway, the story stuff is still there. Some of the talking to people and some of the things, I mean, they just don't feel organic, with some of the experiences that you have. And, I think that just shows the age of the system that is in place in the games. And it exists in Dragon Age Inquisition too. You know, you go and you do that stuff. And Dragon Age Inquisition was received a lot better than Andromeda was.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still that stuff. Oh, like I just did something important. Let me go talk to everybody. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is something that you would do, but it feels forced. And then you feel like you miss, you know, you can go through and you didn't have the right conversation at the right time, so you miss something important, and that sucks. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. I actually basically did everything required to beat the game before advancing the story. And so, whereas like you could just play and naturally progress, and if you were like kind of focusing on the story stuff, you would get to this point where like there would be a ton of shit for you to do, and you would know what it would be, and it would feel overwhelming. But I actually did all that stuff before I advanced the story. So at a point where somebody would get 10 hours through the game and they would hit the story, I was 60 hours into the game, right? Or like maybe not that long, but like let's say I was 40 hours into the game. And so then I got to that point and I had, 5 hours of game left.
Okay.
Instead of having all the bulk of my time left.
Sure.
So I did that a little bit differently, which is, I don't know, in some ways cool that you can.
Yeah.
And it's funny because from a size standpoint, like it's definitely bigger than Dragon Age is, right? Which Dragon Age, Inquisition is way bigger than the other Dragon Age games, but it's broken up into pieces. Mass Effect also broken up into pieces. A lot less interesting shit happening all around everywhere, though, because a lot of the time you're in your rover and you're driving around. Although
Sure.
some of that stuff is pretty fun and neat. But there are definitely some design choices that are less interesting, less good than I've seen in the past. Like some of the probe stuff, some of the way you gather resources, stuff like that, isn't as... it's just such a garbage-ass thing. Like, I get, needing to gather resources to build stuff and to do things like that. Like, I totally understand, but from a gameplay standpoint, it is so worthless scanning the planets just to have one little thing there, and then you launch your probe at it, and you hit X, and then you're done. And all the time it took to get that thing done was the loading from going from planet to planet. So it just feels so hollow.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's just another older gameplay system that they need to address. They need to do something different and more interesting with it. But if you're a fan of Mass Effect and you're a fan of interesting sci-fi stories, it has an interesting sci-fi story, and some of the stuff is really cool. So it's worth checking out.
Yeah, it's on my list. I mean, I'm not feeling like I'm in a huge hurry, and I know I'll get to it. I was kind of toying with the idea of playing through the Mass Effect games this year, and I feel like maybe might want to do that before Andromeda. I don't know, but regardless, it probably doesn't. But I mean, they're talking about releasing patches that change things and animations and little fixes and stuff like that. So really, I have every reason to wait. So I'm going to go ahead and be comfortable with that, especially considering all the other stuff that's available to play at the moment.
It's funny because it kind of reminds me of when Final Fantasy 15 launched. is the company kind of like took a hit for some of the stuff that happened in the game, although Final Fantasy 15 reviewed way better than Mass Effect has. And deservedly so, because just the overall quality of Final Fantasy 15 is much better than Mass Effect. I mean, Mass Effect's uneven. Like, there's no doubt about it. You'll have weird texture pop in and stuff like that. And even though the gameplay's pretty good, sometimes you'll have weird things happen in the gameplay that just shouldn't happen. And it happens a bit, you know, like it's not something that rarely happens. It is something that happens. It's something that you have to continually deal with as you play through. But it's just the story was interesting enough for me that I just looked past some of it, or the gameplay could be fun enough that I would look past having those small problems.
Sure.
And because there are a lot of little mechanics and stuff in that game that I would have just done a little bit differently.
Sure. I mean, that's par for the course with Mass Effect, though, honestly. I mean,
right.
I played through the first game's Mako stuff.
This is the most RPG that it has ever felt.
Sure. Okay.
Like this is the, you know, from the system standpoint of actually like building up your guy and making equipment and, you know, setting yourself up to kind of create the combatant that you want to be. It's the most RPG it's been in that sense. Now, as far as all the talking to your team and talking to other people, it's exactly the same. You know, like there's no difference there, except you can two-time whoever your love interest is.
Ooh.
Not with people on the ship, with people off the ship, which is new and different, and something that I did, and my wife was giving me dirty-ass looks last night. But anyway... But it's something that that is different and interesting, and that I thought was cool.
Sure.
But you know, yeah. I mean, it's just funny to me because like I could have seen somebody give it a 9, and thought, okay, yeah, that's fair. Because if you gave one of the other Mass Effects a 9 with, you know, for Mass Effect 1, the gameplay it's playable. Like if you go back and play that, like that's how it's like I can get through it. That's how it feels, you know, being in the gunfights and stuff like that. It is not the reason you're playing it. You're playing it for the story.
And when you're playing the Mako section, you'll be like, holy shit, this is barely playable. But
it is barely playable. Right. Yeah. Right. And that's, and like I said, like I just played through these games recently, so, I mean, and that's accurate.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2, gameplay feels a little bit better.
Sure.
Actually, I'd actually probably like the gameplay feel in Mass Effect 2 even better than 3, just because Mass Effect 3 felt a little bit too twitchy to me. It needed to slow down a little bit. But again, Andromeda, it certainly plays the best. As far as like the shooting and using your abilities, some of the combinations and stuff of abilities and stuff like that you can use, I wish that they just worked a little bit different. There are these profiles that you have now that give you bonuses based on how you've invested your points. And so, like, let's say if you're using the Explorer profile, which mixes all three, it'll give you certain boosts to abilities. But then if you're using the Vanguard profile, it'll give you boosts to different abilities because of the... And again, it's all based on the amount of points that you've invested into these skill trees. And they're not really trees, they're more like bars, but whatever. It's a skill tree. But, you know, it's, again, like there's just, I would have done it a little bit differently. And I think that it would have made the experience a little bit more exciting in some places, or just a little bit more bearable in other places. But that doesn't take away from the fact that there's a really cool story there that goes on over a really long time. And I mean, that's the thing that's so remarkable to me about the Mass Effect games, is these are not just TV season lengths, these are TV
series lengths.
You know, series length stories in these games.
Yep.
And the fact that they're able to maintain that level of interest in me for that amount of time is pretty remarkable. And even though Horizon is a much higher quality game than than Andromeda is, I haven't beat Horizon yet. I beat Andromeda. So there's something to that, to me.
Sure. Yeah, I hear you. The characters in BioWare's games and the stories the reason to keep playing. Honestly, like I've never gone to those games. You know, dating back to, was Jade Empire the first one that I played of theirs? It might have been.
Jade Empire's still the best of them all.
I never go to their games because it's like, oh man, I gotta get that, you know, that shooter feeling, or I really love the way that combat feels in Dragon Age or anything like that. Right? I started the first one and never finished it. I didn't play KOTOR 2, and yeah.
Well, KOTOR 2 is Obsidian, but still.
Okay. So, Obsidian does good stuff. I like them. But,
so do I.
Yeah. Did you just say, like, what?
I said, so do I.
Oh, okay. I thought you said, really? Like what? I misheard you.
No. They make a what's their isometric RPG? The Pillars of Eternity is fantastic, but it's only on PC.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for Pillars of Eternity to come to console, just because that would make it more playable for me.
Sure.
But that's the latest thing they've been working on, and it's great. I mean, Pillars of Eternity has it killed on Metacritic, and it's 3/4 view isometric RPG.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't see a ton of those anymore. Well, you see a lot more of them now, I think, because of some of the success that they had. But
sure.
Anyway, no, I like Obsidian a lot. I really liked Alpha Protocol. I think it was just one chapter too short.
Yeah, I need to go back and finish that one. Something happened. I can't remember what. I can't remember what happened. I went into that game and I got quite a ways into it, and I stopped for whatever reason. Maybe I lost my save or something. I remember thinking I had to start over again. I don't remember why, but yeah, that's on my to-do list.
Good luck with that. I'm sure it'll never happen.
Yeah, probably not with the rate fucking new games are coming out now. I don't know that I have anything else to talk about this show. We'll come back, and hopefully sooner than we did between this one and our last one. So I'll just hold whatever I've got for next time, if I think of something. You got anything else you want to?
Hopefully you'll play some Nier, and we'll be able to get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the plan, man. I'm really looking forward to that. You know, I'm getting Persona 5 as well next week, so we'll have that to cover. And then it seems like
you better get a poop sock going so you can just finish Nier this weekend.
Right. Well, I've heard that it's like one time through is about 14 hours long, so we'll see. I'm sure that I'm the kind of person where I can switch between games. I've been switching between games, like with Zelda, for example. I've been going back, and I'm still playing Gears of War all the time. I picked up that shooter Caladrius Blaze and that Metroidvania game.
That's not the same though.
I picked up Momodora, so I was playing that too this past week, and I know that those are smaller bite-sized games in the case of Blaze and Momodora, but I mean I'm still juggling Gears and Zelda.
Yeah, so but you're not playing through the story of Gears. You're just doing Horde mode here and there.
Right, but my point is
similar to me playing a baseball game,
That still counts, though. Like what I'm saying is, there's a
but
comfort level in playing
through Nier and Persona. I don't think. Like you're not going to play through Final Fantasy 15 and Persona at the same time.
Probably not, but possibly Nier, just because it's it's a bit different. It's more closer to like a Bayonetta than it is to Persona 5. But to also argue your point, when I was playing Persona 4 Golden, I didn't really want to play much else. That one actually grabbed me, and that was the only thing I wanted to play. So I kind of think that'll probably be the case with 5 too, based on what I've been hearing. So we'll see, I guess.
I'm just so much better about beating games if I focus on one game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think.
So
most people are like that.
Do.
Yeah, I mean, most people are like that. That's, I think, how backlogs happen, is people want to try everything, and then, they play the new thing for just a little bit, and then shelf it, and never go back to it, so.
I'm trying to be better. I'm really trying to be better.
It's hard when they're all so damn good at playing us like the fiddles that we are, and convincing us that all of these are, like you gotta...
Yeah, like, do you think that maybe all these people who are reviewing games are just getting a little taste to put giant scores on games that we really don't think are that good, so that they can increase sales?
I have no... Wait,
Like,
what?
like Sony just paid out a ton of money to every news outlet organization this year that does reviews of video games.
Okay.
Just to boost sales. Because they were like, oh, well, if this Metacritic's an 89, like Nier and Horizon both have, then a ton of people will buy it. So we'll dish out, I don't know, let's say $1 million, right? They'll spread $1 million out to all these different companies for these games, and then they'll review the game higher.
I can't
tell. The games
if
aren't actually as good as we think they are.
I can't tell if you're serious right now or if this is like some kind of elaborate joke that you're going on.
I'm just saying. Like, isn't it weird how well the games are reviewed at the beginning of the year? I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, you know that.
Right.
But there's too much.
Right.
Like, just on the PlayStation, there is too much.
And honestly, it just keeps coming. And I know that
it's stopping, right? But this is it. Like, Persona 5's the last thing for a while, right?
It's the last major thing for a little bit. But if you are a multi-console owner like we are, April's Mario Kart 8, and even though I had that already on the Wii, like, I want it again.
I'm getting it. Yeah, I'm getting it.
You know it's never really going to be cheaper, so if I want to play it and enjoy it at launch with everybody else, I may as well go for it, because it's not like it's going to drop down to $20 by the fall.
Right, because they don't do that because they're assholes. They would rather just not sell their game.
I know. But, I mean, later this summer...
This is like physical copies of games just sitting in places. Or like that Mass Effect 3 DLC I was talking about. Like, they're just sitting there on some server somewhere, and it'll never be sold unless they drop the price. And they just won't do it. They're like, fuck it.
Right. But I was going to say, so later this summer, and not to get too crazy into talking about release lists here, but, you know, June is going to be here before we know it. And for me, there's I think I counted 4 games that I want that month, which is a huge
But
June.
Tekken's one of them, right?
Yeah, so there's Tekken, there's the Crash Bandicoot trilogy that's all been remade. There's the Wipeout collection for PS4. And then
Tekken's big though. Like Tekken, I mean, is a big fighting game series, and I have this fear that Prey is going to be really, really good, and I know, like, well, of course, why shouldn't you want it to be good? Yeah, but if it's too good, then I'm going to buy it.
Right. I need this to be bad.
Right. Like when Prey comes out and it has this crazy Metacritic score, it's going to force me to buy it. Because I can't help myself. When things start Metacriticing so high, it's like, man, there's got to be a reason to play this.
Sure.
And I like the first Prey anyway, so I'm already interested in it. And the sci-fi in it looks so creepy and cool that I really want it anyway. Like, it's a game that I already want, so I need it to not be that good so I don't buy it.
Right.
Because then maybe I will finish all those games I talked about earlier.
Right.
So, but I think that there's a legitimately really good game still coming out every month.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, don't worry. And there's things we don't know about. Like, there are going to be some dumb games that we don't know about that end up being really good. They're not dumb games at all. We just think they're dumb now because we don't know what they are.
Right, and then, you know, at E3 you're gonna see a bunch of announcements like for one, Scorpio's coming out this year, right? They have to have games for that thing. And I know that the
Do they?
Well, if they expect to move copies, yeah. And I think that'll be interesting because you know it's not going to be a Gears game. I think it's a pretty safe bet it won't be a Halo game. So what's it going to be? I guess they've got Crackdown, right? But like, my point is that there's a lot of room for...
Maybe it's going to be that Scalebound.
Maybe
Scalebound isn't really canceled. Maybe it's just going to Project Scorpio.
Who fucking knows? My point is that like the door's wide open for new IPs there. You know, if you try to look at the fall release list for PS4 and Switch right now, like there's 2 games that'll show up on any release list right now from September onward because nobody's nailed down a date for most things in the fall yet, you know? So there's going to be...
God of War is still coming out this year.
Right. Right, and no idea on when, but I'm sure it's a safe bet it'll be around, you know, the holiday fall season.
Right.
But I guess my point is...
there's got to be an obligatory, all that other shit. Call of Duty and...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's totally coming. The rumor there is that it's going to be World War II this time.
I've seen that.
Which would be interesting.
I wouldn't mind playing a World War II one again.
Yeah, I think most people feel that way. I honestly feel like my needs are pretty met in terms of, the double jump, wall running, robot thing. I mean, I've got Titanfall 2. I'm covered, So, but yeah, man. I guess the whole point of talking about that was just to talk about what a disgusting year 2017 is for game releases. It's just too much, man. We're just rotten with games already, and it's not going to let up, I don't think, very much. Might have 1 or 2 off months, and that's going to be about it this year.
If we're lucky,
yeah.
We'll have 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Not really, though. I don't ever want to slow down. That's the lie. Like, that's really the lie for me, though. Is like, yeah, I really do want to put time into these games, and I want to be able to beat them. But the truth of the matter is at some point I just won't want to play them because I'm dumb. And
sure.
At that point, I will want to play something new and tasty.
Well, that's the argument against having like, a backlog too. Is I get that same feeling, right? Like I still haven't caught up from last year. Like I've got Metal Gear
right.
5,
right.
Metal Gear 5, Final Fantasy, Witcher 3 is still on my docket, and I own all of those.
That'll be the best game you play.
Right.
Witcher 3 will be the best game you play this year.
And I own all of those, and
right.
at some point you're gonna get this feeling like, and I try to get away from this, and I feel stupid saying it because I have so many retro games, and I really love, a lot of older games and games that evoke a feeling of nostalgia for previous eras and that kind of thing. But yeah, I hear what you're saying about wanting the new shiny thing. It's like, oh, never mind that I've got Witcher 3. Persona 5's coming out. Give me that shit,
Right.
So yeah, I would be totally okay if we had a dull fall season this year, just because I've got so much to play from what's already come out. It's kind of ridiculous.
Then there's going to be so much dust on it. I mean, are you really going to feel like dusting it off?
Probably not.
It's so much easier to just bust open that new plastic wrap.
Right. I mean, do I really want to go to the bookshelf, take the game out, open it up, take out the disc? I may as well just throw it in the garbage,
Yeah, that's right. Except instead of the garbage, put them in a box and send them all to me so I can sell them to pay my gaming habit.
All right. Yeah, I think we should call it. That's a good amount of time to talk this episode. Let's reconvene after we've filled our bellies with plenty of Persona 5, and we're fat and happy.
Sounds good.
All right. Hey, thank you again for doing this with me. And thank you, everybody else, for checking it out and listening.
Thank you for listening, people.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about this last time, but I the plan is to continue to do this and to be here again. I don't think we can do a weekly schedule like we used to do some years ago, but bi-weekly.
How many episodes did we do? 200?
We never did the full 200, but we started to get pretty close. I want to say we got around 190. It might have even been like 185, something like that. Because we started to space them out pretty far at the end there. We would go, solid, sometimes 2 months between episodes.
Well, I'd like to do one at least every 2 weeks if we can. That's my goal here for now.
Yeah.
And if we were to see some gigantic spike in listenership, which honestly we did have at times when we were doing it before, like we had some episodes that got downloaded a lot more than I think that we suggested that maybe they did at times. And but I know that we have some really loyal people who have listened to our podcast for a really long time, and it makes a difference to them when we do it. And so if getting on PlayStation Network or getting on Skype or having an excuse to talk to one of my best friends for an hour every couple of weeks bring some joy into your guys' lives, then I'm more than willing to do it.
Yeah, right on. So, and truth be told, when we were on our long hiatus there, I missed it. It's
Me too. All the time.
When you're an opinionated big mouth like we are, it's nice to have. It's nice to have a platform, and
it's so funny because that what you just said, I love talking about games with my friends, and I do it right, like with the friends. But having even if it only reaches 50 people,
Sure.
The fact that it reached 50 people that it wouldn't have anyway just makes me feel better about doing it.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
So.
All right. So, on that note, thanks everybody, and we're out until next time. We'll catch you then. Go enjoy Persona 5 or whatever else you've got on your agenda. Go play some games. Have fun.